So they do things like a school fees program. They have a microfinance program and a tailoring workshop for many of the women work to develop a trade in tailoring. So these kinds